Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night, looked at the clock, and it was exactly 3 o'clock in the morning? It might seem like just a coincidence, but what if it's something more? What if this sudden awakening is actually an invisible call, a whisper from heaven that only spiritually tuned ears can hear? For centuries, this specific hour has intrigued scholars, spiritual leaders, and scientists alike. Some believe it's simply the result of disrupted sleep patterns or subconscious stress. But for many, 3 o'clock in the morning is known as a powerful moment, a sacred window of time for prayer, reflection, and spiritual awareness. All over the world, countless people report having visions, vivid dreams, or even spiritual encounters during this mysterious hour. Science may explain some of what happens through brain activity, hormonal shifts, or circadian rhythms. But faith invites us to look deeper. In this documentary, we'll explore this mystery from two powerful perspectives. The scientific, uncovering what goes on in the body and mind in the early hours, and the spiritual, where perhaps the Creator is quietly calling out to the human soul. Could God be inviting you to pray? Are invisible battles unfolding while most people sleep? And is your insomnia not a problem, but a divine invitation? Before we dive into the spiritual side, we first need to understand what science tells us about waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Human sleep is divided into cycles, which alternate between light sleep, deep sleep, and REM, the stage of rapid eye movement where dreams often occur. Throughout the night, we go through several of these cycles, each lasting roughly 90 minutes. Scientifically, it's quite normal for people to briefly wake up between these phases. However, consistently waking at exactly 3 o'clock in the morning, especially with a specific sensation like unease, restlessness, or even an urge to pray, raises deeper questions. Studies have shown that around this time, cortisol levels begin to rise, gradually preparing the body for wakefulness. Core body temperature drops, which can lead to discomfort and disturbances. The brain transitions from deep sleep to a lighter stage, making us more susceptible to waking up. For people dealing with stress, anxiety, or depression, this can be a particularly sensitive moment. Waking up in the middle of the night may be a symptom of middle insomnia, breathing disorders, like apnea, or hormonal fluctuations. The issue becomes more concerning when it turns into a recurring pattern, especially in healthy individuals. Neuroscience suggests that during the early hours, there is increased activity in the limbic system, the emotional part of the brain. That's why we are more emotionally vulnerable, introspective, and even spiritually sensitive during this time. But what happens when science can't explain what we feel? When waking up comes with an unexplainable sense of urgency or reverence, that's when we step into the spiritual dimension. The Bible is full of examples of deep encounters with God that took place during the early hours of the morning, a time often associated with silence, stillness, and spiritual revelation. This hour, when most of the world is asleep, seems to offer a setting that is especially favorable for communion and the awareness of the divine. Jacob and the struggle with the angel. Genesis 32:24-30. The story of Jacob is one of the most vivid examples of a transformative encounter during the early hours of the morning. He wrestled with a mysterious being until daybreak, a struggle that resulted in a new identity and a divine blessing. This battle symbolizes persistence in the search for God and the willingness to face internal and spiritual challenges in order to enter a new phase of faith. The place was even renamed Peniel, which means face of God. Samuel and the divine calling, 1 Samuel 3. The young Samuel, still a boy, heard the voice of God calling him repeatedly during the night. At first, he mistook the voice for his mentor, Eli. However, it was in the quiet of the early morning that God revealed himself and commissioned Samuel to be a prophet, marking the beginning of his ministry. This shows that the early hours are a time when God can speak clearly and directly, revealing purpose and calling. David and Midnight Praise, Psalm 119:62. King David, known as a man after God's own heart, expressed his devotion by declaring, "At midnight I rise to give you thanks for your righteous laws." This highlights David's discipline and deep spiritual passion. He saw the early hours as an ideal time for worship and gratitude, even in the darkness of night. It is a powerful testimony to the priority he placed on communion with the Creator. Jesus in solitary prayer, Mark 1:35. Jesus himself, the ultimate example of spiritual life, sought the solitude of the early morning to connect with the Father. Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, he got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. This practice emphasizes the importance of seeking moments of deep prayer and reflection even before the demands of the day begin. It's a time to recharge spiritually and align with God's will. These passages reveal that the early morning hours are indeed a precious time for spiritual connection. When everything is quiet, free from daily distractions and noise, the heart and mind become more open to hearing God's voice and sensing His presence. It's a period when the mind is calmer, making it easier to meditate and receive spiritual insight. Many modern-day Christians testify that they have been repeatedly awakened around 3 o'clock in the morning, without alarms and with no apparent reason. For many, this unexplainable experience led them to seek God in prayer, and the results have been deeply transformative in their spiritual lives. This hour is sometimes associated in Christian tradition with the time when Jesus may have risen from the dead, or when various spiritual manifestations are believed to occur. Although there is no direct biblical basis for 3 o'clock in the morning, specifically being God's hour, the frequency of this experience in many people's lives suggests a spiritual calling. Pastors, intercessors, and missionaries from various denominations report deep and meaningful experiences that occur during this time. Visions and revelations. Many describe receiving clear visions, prophetic dreams, or divine insights that guided them in major life decisions, ministry paths, and in understanding God's will. The stillness of the early morning seems a channel for spiritual communication. Callings and direction. It is common to hear testimonies of people who had their ministry calling confirmed or even revealed during early morning prayer. God often uses this time to commission and give specific direction for life and service. Inner healing and deliverance. The early hours have also become a setting for profound experiences of emotional healing, deliverance from addictions, traumas, and spiritual oppression. The intensity of prayer and the hunger for God during this time create a powerful atmosphere for divine intervention in sensitive areas of life. The persistence of these awakenings and experiences can be interpreted as a call from the Holy Spirit Himself to remain watchful. Remember Jesus' words to the disciples in Gethsemane when He found them sleeping. "Could you not keep watch with me for 1 hour?" Matthew 26:40. This question was not merely a rebuke, but an invitation to spiritual alertness, especially during critical moments. The early morning hours, then, may be a divine invitation to be awake, attentive, and in communion with the Father, preparing ourselves spiritually for the challenges and blessings of the day ahead. Many people ask, why would God wake someone up precisely at 3 o'clock in the morning? Some theologians believe there is spiritual symbolism behind it. At 3 afternoon hours, Jesus gave up his spirit on the cross. At 3 o'clock in the morning, it is seen as the opposite, a time when the world is silent and darkness briefly reigns. It is the deepest point of the night, a moment of profound stillness when spiritual activity is believed to intensify. In Jewish culture, the period between midnight and dawn is known as the fourth watch. This was the time when the guards would rotate their shifts to stay alert. Jesus appeared to his disciples walking on water during the fourth watch, Matthew 14:25. Jewish religious tradition and early Christians viewed this as a prophetic time. Many prayer gatherings have emerged around this idea, the so-called early morning vigils. So now you know what to do if you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Here are 5 steps to respond to the call. 1. Give thanks. Start by thanking God for the moment. 2. Pray. Intercede for your home, your church, and your nation. 3. Read the Word. A psalm or a proverb can nourish your soul. 4. Listen. Make space for God to speak. 5. Write it down. Record any dreams, revelations, or impressions. This practice can become a powerful spiritual discipline. Waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning can be a physical inconvenience or a heavenly opportunity. It might be your body reacting to the environment, or your spirit responding to the touch of the Creator. The truth is, the spiritual realm doesn't sleep, and God is still looking for willing hearts, even in the early hours. As the prophet Isaiah said, "Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call on him while he is near." Isaiah 55:6. If you've been waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, don't ignore it. This could be the most precious moment of your day, or even your life. It's not about mysticism. It's about spiritual sensitivity. It's about pausing everything to hear the voice of the one who never sleeps. And in doing so, you may discover that heaven's greatest secrets are being revealed, while most of the world is still asleep. So the next time the clock strikes 3 in the morning, remember, it might be God calling you to a divine encounter. Will you answer?